Hey, it's Mark Mopp, and we're at a real estate event tonight. I'm here with my good friend Pat Winter. Pat and I have done a lot of real estate deals in the past, all of them related around commercial real estate because actually that's Pat's expertise. It wasn't mine, but I've learned a ton by being involved with him. I just wanted to say that Pat's had over plus 30 years experience in commercial real estate. He's done purchases, he's done renovations, he's done management, leasing, construction, sales, and he's managed a huge portfolio as his dad's majorly in the game, and he's the one that handled those transactions over the years. We're currently here tonight, and we're going to be doing some events, and I'll let Pat talk a little bit about himself.
Business is not that difficult. We're in it, we're still doing big deals right now. And once you do it, you understand it's nothing to fear. So we'll be giving a lot more tips and 20, 30-minute tips about the same topic, ongoing teaching.
Just call the phone number on the screen here and you can talk directly to Pat. We both thank you, and we hope you enjoy this video.
To make things work and to be successful. And that's the only way I've already made money over the years is having a team of people. You can't do it all on your own. There's only so many hours in a week. There's only so much you know. You can go out and learn it, but you're constantly learning. You just got to keep increasing your knowledge and the level of people you deal with. Yes?
The name you gave out, that's the commercial real estate at dealmakers.net. That's an email address?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. So there's no URL to get to that Dealmakers website?
If you type in dealmakers.net, www.dealmakers.net, that's their main website. But I give you their email blast address. Basically, you type in what you want to send out. You put on the line commercial property in Michigan, industrial property in Michigan, and you type your own ad, basically, and you hit send, and out it goes. When they send a confirmation back that they received it.
When you're looking at different properties, is there demographics for like whatever county you want to look, whatever's in that available in that area? Can you pinpoint it that way?
Dealmakers doesn't work that way. They're like a clearinghouse for all different kinds of property. If you go on LoopNet, that's something you can get onto, pretty much free. They have a premium service you could sign up for. I don't know how much it is.
Right.
I have it at my office, but I honestly don't know how much it costs. But LoopNet, there's CoStar. CoStar is really the biggest one that the commercial brokers use. COSTAR. It's somewhat inexpensive. I think it's like $30 or $40 a month. But it gives you all the high-profile properties, apartments, office buildings, the triple net lease properties all around the country. There's a lot of companies now that build shopping centers, office buildings, office parks, just for the intent of a corporate tenant, and then when they get it finished and built, they sell it. They're actually building product for the 1031 market. It's a mind-boggling business. They have a guaranteed tenant, they have a guaranteed exit. Takes big money to play there, but that's kind of where I'm gravitating. That's where I want to go to. We're working with different people now through different networking. There's high net worth individuals from other states are coming here to Michigan to do projects, and we're starting to get involved with them right now. A different team of people I'm working with, and they have the money. They want to do these big multi-million-dollar projects here in Michigan. You get the project up and going, then we could sell the project or hang on to it. Just a lot of different avenues.
Have you been finding that the commercial market is favorable compared to like what's going on with residential?
The commercial market's always favorable because it's not talked about. There's always growth. This depends on what city. Again, it's a system of different avenues that I use every day. And networking with brokers, title companies, banks. You get to know the different banks, the asset managers. They know a lot of things about what's going on, new development. There's a handout that I have Janik handout, and it's really where I've found a lot of deals over the years, starting out with my dad, is through the city officials. That's what I want to talk about right now. The city officials are very well-paid people, but they honestly, they're the pulse of the neighborhood. If you want to invest in Clawson or Berkeley or Birmingham or Royal Oak or Bloomfield or any other city, go up and down the corridor, those are the places you start with. I guess when Janet gets back in the room, we can hand this sheet out, but basically it talks about the different people that you need to know to develop a rapport with at the city. And then the biggest one I talk to once a week, his name is Tim Twing in Royal Oak. He's the senior planning director there in Royal Oak. I show up, Tim knows me, say, Tim, how's things going? What's the newest project? He'll pull the printout, roll it on the desk. Here's a new project going here. No one knows about these projects but the city. They're not public knowledge. There's no public hearing on them yet. Or there might be one public hearing on them, but there's probably 3 or 4 more to go. It might be in advanced stages. So that's a way to locate property or around that development, to learn about what's going to be built in that development, because that has a big impact of the neighborhood around it. That's one of the things on my checklist here, is how to see the path of progress, how to understand where that city is going. There's a huge bonanza going on in Royal Oak now. If anyone here has been in Royal Oak, you'll see the change over the last 2 or 3 years. It's mind-boggling. There's probably going to be 2,000 condos coming online downtown Royal Oak. But it's caused a big surge in the retail market. A lot more retailers are coming here, national retailers and national franchises, and the big franchise restaurant chains are all coming here. They've never been here in Michigan before, but they're coming because of income. They all look at demographics and, you know, concentrations of population. Basically, you just got to talk to the different people at the city hall, the planning department, the code enforcement officers, the court bailiffs. They're just people. Every day they're doing a job. They see opportunities. They never act upon it. They know about them. And that's your job, is to get to know them and talk to them and network with them, and then follow up on the different properties that they have problems with. There's houses. I never really got into housing. I guess I did back in my early 20s. But there was 3 or 4 houses in Birmingham I wish I hung on to, but at that time I didn't. I just was hungry for the money. There's one code enforcement officer, and she's still there now to this day, because they have a huge job there. Honestly, they get overpaid for what they do, and as long as they don't make any mistakes, they got a huge pension, insurance, all kinds of paid holidays. But they're in the thick of things every day because they hear all the complaints from the neighbors, so they got to deal with the problems. There's 3 houses in a row on Davis Street in Birmingham. They're little 40-foot lots. Just an example. Met with this code enforcement officer. She said, this landlord owns 3 houses. They're all vacant. They're all in disrepair. They won't cut the grass. She goes, I'm just fed up with them. I said, well, how do I get a hold of this guy? Well, here's his address right here. He lives in Florida now. So I sent him a letter. And back then, they didn't have the reverse lookup. So I kept sending letters and letters and letters. He finally responded. Called him up. He said, who are you? How'd you get my phone number? How'd you get my address? I said, well, I got it from the code enforcement officer here in Birmingham. She's a good friend of mine. And she says you're having some problem with the houses and you won't rent them. You keep them in disrepair. The grass is long. Long story short, that he got burned out from landlords. I mean, burned out from his tenants. He decided he just wanted to get out of the business. Didn't want the property anymore. Had no debt on him. So at that time, again, I didn't have the money to fly down there, so I just kind of mailed the PA off to him. He signed my PA on all 3 houses. He owned all 3 of them. I took the signed PA. They were $30,000 a house. Today, you couldn't even buy a house in Birmingham on a 40-foot lot for $200,000, much less $250,000. What people are doing is buying the lots, the houses, tearing them down, put up a house and sell for $1 million on a 40 by 120 lot. Anyway, I got the 3 houses under contract. I didn't have any money to buy them, so I took them to my dad. He said, Pat, I'll take these. I know somebody to get rid of them. I basically made $10,000 in a week on each house. Sold all 3 of them. But then my really focus is commercial. So I just started talking to her about commercial opportunities. And went to a commercial building right on Woodward and Davis. It's my dad still owns it today. It's his office building he has his office in. It was an old hair salon. And again, the owner was an out-of-state owner. And I would never have found or heard about this property unless I talked to the building department. The tenants moved out of the building, was vacant for a year. There was no sign on the building. The building looked like it was in good repair. There was no problems with it. But it had a leaking sewer line in the basement. It has a full basement under it. And the landlord never winterized the building. So the water froze and broke. The sewer line in the building froze and broke. And it was raw sewage in the basement. So again, we tracked down the code enforcement officer. She told me the name of the owner. The owner's in Flint somewhere. So I went up and saw him and was with my dad. We signed a purchase agreement with him for $100,000 on a land contract with $5,000 down, and she accepted it. Went in, pumped out the basement, at that time put an auto parts store in there. They start paying $3,000 a month, triple net. Just one tenant. Then upstairs was a bunch of rental units, a bunch of apartments. It's like a live-work type of building. Gutted the upstairs, made into an office. Then there's a little garage in the back, converted that to an office, and leased it out. I still own it to this day. Again, I can't say enough about the different people in the city. Whatever city you want to invest in, get to know the building inspector, the code enforcement officer, the court bailiff, electrical inspector, the plumbing inspectors. They go out to every house. Every time there's an inspection done on a house, whether it's for a landlord permit or for new construction or renovation being done on that property, they go to that property. They go to the commercial properties too. And that's really my focus. I don't care about the housing, because I know the commercial has such a lot bigger upside. That's one of the ways, I guess, my most successful ways is dealing with, on a local basis, is dealing with the city inspectors, because they're so available. They're just people there every day. You go in and meet them between 12 and 1. They're usually inside having lunch inside, because they don't go out for lunch. They have no one to talk to. You go and talk to them during their lunch hour. Out during the day, in the morning and the afternoon, out doing inspections. Going from one house. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Bring them baskets of fruit, pizza. They're not really difficult people to deal with. You don't have to bring them a lot. Bring gift certificates, and they remember you. Believe it or not, they remember you. Another way I've dealt with is banks. I want to touch on that, how to locate distressed properties through banks. Again, my focus was never residential, it was always commercial, industrial, and over the years I've acquired a lot of properties. We've acquired a lot of properties through banks. When they take back a property in the commercial realm, they don't really take it back. They put it into what they call workout. There's a department where all they do is kind of sweat the details. Should we or shouldn't we take this property back? They don't want to take it back, because they know they're really going to take a hosing by taking it back. That's the best opportunity, to buy one that they have taken back. Because they know when they take it back, there's no income stream, there's no way the tenant's ever going to, or the owner of the building is going to redeem it, because the case is closed. They got to list it with a broker. They know they got to take a huge haircut and sell it, and they got a huge carrying cost. The taxes on a commercial building are probably 4 times what they are on a house. I don't know if anybody knows that, but it's a crazy problem to have. But again, most of the time you don't worry about it, because the tenant pays the taxes anyway. But a typical house, say in Birmingham, a little tiny house on a 40-foot lot is $7,000 a year. A commercial building, the property taxes are $30,000 or $40,000 a year. In the city's eyes, all the landlords are wealthy, so they just shouldn't have any discount on their real estate taxes on their buildings. In addition to that, the tenant pays personal property tax, which is another add-on cost to operating a business. So anyway, go back to the banks. You deal with the banks, their workout department, you get to know those people, you take them to lunch, you go visit with them. It takes a lot of time over the years, but you get to know who they are, and you get to develop a rapport with them. Again, all their job is to get the property back and find a workout solution. You can go meet, they'll give you within time, they can give you a property list of property they have in workout. You go meet with the property owner, try to do a joint venture deal. You analyze it, say the occupant, usually the tenant, or the property owner. He has a manufacturing business not doing well, but he never thought of partitioning his building down and try to lease out the back half. That would pay his mortgage payment, but they don't think like that. They just think about, wow, I got to get my business going so I can make more money and keep the bank off my back. So that's the kind of things you got to be creative with, and you learn by actually getting out there and doing it. Is dealing with people and thinking about their problem and trying to find a solution. That's how you get paid. Is value added, what you bring to the table to help that person out. Whether you help the bank out by bringing the loan current, or just taking the loan out current, just buy the whole property from the bank. There's different opportunities. I don't know if everyone saw the sheet there, but basically those are the people I've talked to at the city. But I want to talk about now is the people in the bank industry that the asset managers and the workout department. These are people that they hide. The bank doesn't want to be bothered, but they're in every bank has a bank workout department and a whole group of asset managers. They deal with all of the bad loans gone bad, bad industrial and commercial mortgages. A lot of banks don't have any, but a lot of them won't admit that they have any. So it's, again, your job to keep after the different banks. The bank, if you bank with LaSalle Bank or bank with Fifth Third Bank or Huntington Bank, they all have problem properties that they want to get off their books. You just go meet with them. Again, if you just develop a rapport, find the property. That's what I want to teach in my mentoring class, is how to do that more in depth. It's not something I talked about in 4 hours or 5 hours today. Basically a system I've developed over the years of how to analyze it, how to find partners to put it together, or some deals you just look at and you figure it's not worth, it's something you want to pass by. And say, what else you got on your list? Go ahead.
Are you talking about the banks that are your local branches, or are you talking about banks downtown?
No, local branches. Your question was, is it talking about local banks or banks downtown? These are local branches. All the banks that are in the suburbs have maybe offices downtown, but their asset managers or their workout departments are usually based in the city or near the city that the branch is at.
Do the banks also do short sales on these commercial properties?
Do the banks do short sales? In my opinion, they've never done that kind of deal. They do distressed sales. They don't really deal with properties like a residential side. What you've got to come to the table with is strong financial strength. Again, if you don't have it, I have an avenue of putting people together to do have it. Again, it's finding the deal. Just like I made examples of the little houses in Birmingham. I didn't have the money, but I found the deal, so I know how to get rid of it. You just know the value that, boy, this is an incredible deal. If you're building if a building costs, typical commercial building today to build ground up is $100 a square foot. If you know you can find from a bank or from another distressed situation, you can find a commercial building anywhere in Oakland County for $30, $40 a square foot, you know you got to steal. It's just numbers game. After time, you get to know value, and whether it's occupied or not, at $30, $40 a square foot, you're stealing the building. And those deals are out there all the time. Again, we talked at the break with some people, had some questions that kind of property comes up, obviously doesn't stay around long. The brokers in the business have the clients that buy that. I call them the white sharks. They come into town or come up from the deep water. They got their firepower. They just put it under contract. They close on it, or they tie it up on an option. Then they put a group together and go buy it, or they'll buy it just to hold it. Friends I know today just deal with properties they buy and hold. They don't ever sell it. There's a guy that owns a chunk of Woodward Avenue in Royal Oak. He bought it like 4 or 5 years ago. He said, I'm never going to develop, I'm just going to sit on it. It's a vacant building there. He sat on it and sat on it and sat on it. And they built a little strip center next door. They wanted to expand because they had 3 national tenants in the strip center. And he finally sold out. I think he sold out last month for $1.5 million. He paid $200,000 for it. Just sat on it. But it's got the Woodward frontage. You got 80,000 cars a day going each way on Woodward Avenue. It's one of the highest traveled roads in the whole state of Michigan. So that's all a retailer wants, is get their nose out on Woodward Avenue. So over the years, Woodward Avenue seemed expensive back in the 80s, but in the year 2006, it's like gold. Who knows what it'll be in 2012 or 15 as the cities keep growing, all the infill development, all the condos, the high-rises going on. That's basically just riding the wave of appreciating value of property. In the commercial world, it's so much stronger than residential. Residential house might go up 10% or 12%. A commercial building can go up 100% in 1 year, because it's all driven by income side. A house is a residential home is driven by the value of the house in the neighborhood. Say a residential house costs roughly $120 a square foot to build from the ground up, vertical cost, excluding your land cost. A commercial building has land cost. Yeah, the land cost might be $40 a square foot for the dirt, and you might have $50 or $60 a cost for vertical cost, because it's really a simple structure. But the income side really drives a commercial property up that it's worth $200 or $300 or $400 a square foot, because you got the income side, the replacement cost, and the construction cost. The market value is all driven by the income in the commercial world, really, because that's what the bank looks at, and that's what you guys are going to be trained to look at, is look at the income side, or the income potential of a commercial property. That's where the payday is. Mark mentioned earlier about this building in Detroit. He had a source that found it, and he brought it to me, and I evaluated. This is a quick analysis. It's 160,000 square foot. I think it was about $100,000 of back taxes, 25 grand is what we bought it for, 125 grand. We brought an investor in to do the repairs, but I just knew in my head, you can't even buy the building, much less put a parking lot in for 125 grand. It sits on 4 acres and has another 2 acres across the street that wasn't paid, but it's already fenced. I said, you can't beat it. Again, that's the kind of value that once you hear about it, you just got to jump on it. You make a decision, you go with it. Put it together, get it under contract, go meet the owner, do whatever it takes, because it won't be around long. And even if it's got an environmental issue, again, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but there's ways to deal with that easily to ensure you're not at risk on that issue. But honestly, analyzing, I've talked of different ways of how to find property, but analyzing is not difficult. I've touched on it a little bit, but really it's replacement cost. My construction background gives me a leg up, but really it's all it is a matter of multiplying. Typically, like I mentioned earlier, an industrial building costs between $60 to $100 a build. That's it, a square foot. The dirt's the biggest variable. In dirt value, it depends on the corridor it's on. But the corridor it's on raises the dirt value. It could be $20 to $30 a square foot for the dirt. But the income side is the long-term effect, which allows you to buy the dirt for $30 a square foot, build a building for $40 to $100 more, and still get enough income to support that. Everything's driven by numbers. It's all a function of income and potential income down the road.
So your 60 to 100 includes the dirt?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, a shell building, if you built a retail building today, they all have slabs. You don't put a basement in a retail building. Basically, trench a footing, pour the footing. They call it monolithic pour. They pour the whole floor with the footing all at once. It's called a monolithic pour. I've known over the years the construction people that know how to do it and do it quickly. They could do a whole slab of a 5,000 foot building in 1 day. You let that cure 10 days. They come in, they'll block up the outside walls. Again, a retail building, if you've seen one go up or seeing one go up now, go back and visit the site. It's really interesting to watch. It's simple. The outside walls are block, usually 12-inch block, or they're steel stud. A block costs $2 a square foot, $2 a block, and basically it's $2 a labor to put it in place. They block up the walls, then they got a steel truss system they put in, the purlins. You put the roof deck on, you put the insulation down, you put the rubber roof on, you put the equipment on the roof with a crane, then you start doing the facade of the building. The front of the building's all glass, right? What kind of retail building would you want other than glass? You see the Verizon, you see the Starbucks, you see the, there's bookstores, there's dry cleaners. A retail strip, think in your mind or think of one you've seen yesterday or today or last year. What's there to it? Nothing. There's nothing to the building. It's all the income side. It's incredible. A house is a lot more elaborate than a commercial building. And when you lease a commercial or build a commercial building, there's one electrical service comes with the building. And it's all sub-metered out. Guess who pays for the sub-metering? The tenant, not you, not the developer, not the landlord. They have their electrician bring the service into their space. You might give them a rooftop unit, but they got to pay to have the ductwork done, the electrical done, the plumbing done. They do the restroom in their space. All the expense is on a tenant's back, not on your back. So again, that's why the cost is so inexpensive. You mentioned, how can you do it for 40 to 60? Because you're not paying for it, the tenant is. So if you can find a fully improved building, which I'm still chasing now, there's one through this one asset manager of the local bank here. It's fully leased. It's an estate situation. In a lot of buildings in the commercial world, it's kind of sad, but they're passed on from generation to generation. And a generation, whether it's a third generation, a second generation, if they don't have the burning desire to keep real estate, they just say, I'd rather take the money. I want to go buy a house on the ocean. That's the worst thing they could do. But I'm not going to tell them otherwise. So a lot of things trade like that very, very quickly. They just said, give me the cash. I just want to take the income and go. But the beauty of a commercial building, again, was one I'm working with through the bank. They're trying to buy it. It's fully leased. But I just know the replacement cost. In today's world, it's in a suburb of Oakland County. The family that owns it's a inheritance, and they don't want the asset. They don't want the income stream. They don't want to get the $10,000 a month, or basically brings in $9,000 a month net. So, well, I can't live on $9,000 a month net. I want my big chunk of money. So we're trying to acquire the building from the bank through this, basically through this attorney that's dealing with the heirs that got the property, so they can just take their money and go spend it. But I know it's much less than replacement cost, because again, the numbers I talked to you about. The number we're buying the building at, and it's fully leased, it should appraise somewhere around $250,000 a square foot, but we're going to buy it right at $120,000. That's an incredible buy. Again, no one knows about it. I've developed a rapport with this bank officer, and he turned me on to the attorney handling the estate, because it's basically a probated estate. The guy that died, the dad, he's built all this estate over the years, but when the kids were raised, they had no interest in real estate. They all went into their own profession. They said, well, we don't want to own this shopping center with all my other siblings. I just want my money. So that creates a great opportunity in the commercial world. Just come in and say, hey, okay, you guys want your money? Well, take it. Here's your money. So I'm just saying, that's my opinion, is the best thing to focus on is city officials, bank officials. You network with banks. We network with attorneys, investment clubs. You never know what different avenue is going to bring in property for you. And just the simple things I talked about here give you an idea of the flavor for how to recognize the value, how to tie that thing up, and then try to either sell it or put a group together, a joint venture team together, and away you go. You can sell the property if you just want the money and go on to something else, or keep it, refinance it. That's the biggest thing about commercial that I really enjoyed and I've loved over the years. You don't really have to sell the property because the tenant's paying the mortgage down on the property. The rents are going up. So on the bank side and the appraiser side, the building is going up in value. So you can always get an 80% loan-to-value loan on a commercial building. And the income's based not on what you make, but what the tenants pay. So over the years, rents go up no matter what people say. Oh, everything's trash, the economy's trash. That's all baloney. That just sells newspapers. There's always a big demand in commercial, retail. The market's always going up. The rents are always going up. Whether you know it or not, food's going up. People don't realize it. Lumber goes up. They took out of the CPI index. They took lumber out. They took fuel out. They took food out. So they said, well, CPI is only 4%. Not really. Not if you add in the real cost of living items that we deal with every day. So that's really the focus is on the find, fix, and flip avenue. That's how to exit the properties, to bring a group together to buy it, tie it up and resell it. Oh, I have a question in the back.
Yeah, who's going to be able to produce the best information as to the demographic shift, where you've got the father who passed away and then the family that needs to liquidate property? Other than a relationship one-on-one with the bank or the attorney,
Your question was, who can give you the best information on a demographic shift? Or if someone wants to sell an asset?
Got nothing to do with demographics.
Yeah, it's not demographics. That's just all people skills, basically, networking. You get to know, you just got to put the word out that you're looking for commercial, industrial investment opportunities. And I'm telling you, they come flying to you. Because a lot of commercial investment opportunities, in my opinion, there's so much stuff out there, you got to analyze it. And there's three things that keep people from doing commercial property investment, in my opinion. It's a lack of knowledge, a fear because you don't have any confidence of what you're doing, and a lack of money. And I'm here to teach you the knowledge, and in my mentoring course for the whole year is going to really get into a lot of knowledge because I can't cover it all today, but I'm just kind of touch on each of the different subjects. The fear, if you don't have the confidence to do it, if you've done it before, you're going to back off and say, well, I'll just go back to flipping houses or investing in homes. And I'm just here to tell you that commercial is so much better upside, is so much more flexibility of your income, what you can do with it after you acquire it, refinancing it, 1031s. I'm going to have a handout later on too about 1031s. We don't legally have to pay any income tax or any capital gains tax on the asset once you acquire it and you go to sell it. It's all right in the tax code. Most people don't realize it. They say, oh, I'll just pay the capital gains. It doesn't really apply a lot to the little homes. If you flip a house, you make 10 grand or 15 grand. But a commercial building, you can have a $500,000 or $1 million profit, and that's not abnormal. It's a big problem to chase. You go, wow, I got a 15% gain on $1 million. That's a $150,000 tax. Should I pay it or shouldn't I pay it? Well, legally, you don't have to pay it. So why pay it? Go ahead. You have a question? Okay.
Okay, so in the commercial realm, you don't get a short sale when you're trying to deal with a distressed property that the bank owns. So what, you just go in and negotiate? You're not doing a short sale, what are you doing? I mean, how do you, are you saying?
I guess you got to define it. How I define a short sale is that the lender is willing to take a discount for immediate closing.
Right, okay, so what?
Commercial's different. They don't really take a short, I guess it's a different way of deciding. It's the same thing. They take a short sale, but what they really don't want to do is they don't want to take title to it. They want you to go work out with the property owner some kind of deal, and you come back to them. But I've purchased properties in the group I was in Ferndale, mind-boggling. This was a property, the building that, again, it was not on the market. Heard about through a broker I knew. The next day, went and visited the building. It's 60-some thousand square feet. This is going to tie into the public adjuster upside. They're like gold, in my opinion. That's a real-life example. It's a building in Ferndale. Was through this broker, heard about it. He told me it's a pocket listing. Commercial brokers, like residential brokers, have pocket listings. They don't want to expose a commercial property to all the commercial world. If they know a buyer's going to, that they know has a wherewithal to buy a property and they can capture the whole 6%. Again, they're all commission driven. They just don't make $20,000 a year. They'll make $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000, $500,000 a year, all commission income. So what they do is carry these properties around in their pocket, and they network through all the different sources that they have to try to expose property to them. Well, this guy I found, honestly, was on a golf course. He started talking about commercial property. I go, oh, commercial broker? Yeah, I'm with, it was Turris Tasto at that time. He goes, I got this property in Ferndale. No one wants it. I've had it for 2 weeks. In the commercial world, there is no MLS. There's CoStar now. There was nothing like that ever. There's always just a list of whatever the broker had he wanted to sell, and he talked about his buddy and other buddies, and that's how they sold property. A lot of it goes on that way today. Anyway, this property in Ferndale, he had exclusive control, was lender owned. The lender actually kicked the owner out, foreclosed, and they were going to auction the equipment off in the building. 60,000 square feet plus building. They kicked the tenant out. They were just in the process of auctioning off all the equipment at the bank's expense. Met with the bank officer, was tucked away in some building in Livonia. Went and visited him. Brought him a couple business cards, and I said, here, any more properties like this, be sure to let me know. I brought him a little gift certificate. I don't know, it wasn't Friday, it was at some restaurant, He started telling me all about the property. He said, how'd you hear about this? I said, well, from this broker over here. He goes, yeah, he's a good guy, but I'm really stressed about this property. I want to get it off my books. I said, okay, what's the deal on it? He said, well, the owner's been in it for a year. We had him in workout for a whole year, paid no payments on it. We didn't want to take it back because we know all it's going to do is cost us money. He's full of equipment. The building's full of equipment. All his machinery all bolted to the floor. Because we take it back, we got to take a haircut. We're going to sell the building at a discount. We have to clean the building out. The roof leaks. We know we got to put a new roof on. And then some of the equipment on the roof, the mechanical equipment doesn't work. We have to replace that too. So we started negotiating with the guy. It was like $600,000, which is $10 a square foot for a building. That's incredible. Again, the bells start going off in my head. So again, I couldn't buy it, so I brought my dad with me. By the end of the week, we met with him 2 or 3 at a time. We got him to $300,000 for the building. He put a new roof on, all new mechanical on the roof, all new mechanical equipment. They sold all the equipment off, broom cleaned it all, and left it empty. Then back then there was no environmental issues, but they had some kind of a building report done, like they call it an as-built plan. They hire an architect, they go in the building, they measure every nook and cranny of the building, all the dimensions from the floor to ceiling, and they give you a set of prints. That costs like $5,000. That was one of the things we acquired. Took title of the building. Again, I didn't have any money. My dad did. So he had a credit line. He has commercial buildings. He has credit lines on his commercial buildings, like a line of credit. You could write a check tomorrow for any amount of money because you have a line of credit on your commercial building, the equity in your commercial buildings. Bought the building. Found another broker I know. I wasn't a broker then. I knew him up, and he said, Pat, I got a tenant moving from Detroit, and he's got to be in the suburbs. He's got to move in now. He's a florist, a wholesale florist. So they moved in. They start paying $20,000 a month rent immediately. They put coolers in the building and everything else. The next summer, this ties in with the public adjuster, we had a big storm. Part of the roof blew off. And the rain came in. It leaked down inside the office. It was office space upstairs because it was an industrial plant. It ruined the carpet, the walls. The insurance company was clamoring around, call them up. Oh, we got a claim here. And they go, oh, well, we're going to send one of our adjusters out and they'll take care of you. And Mr. Winter, be sure to, be in the mindset to settle the claim right on the spot because we really want to take care of you. Okay. So I went there. I didn't know any better. Met with a guy and he goes, well, yeah, I see you got a lot of damage here. It's like $50,000. And, yeah, we probably should just, settle that right now. Kind of kept looking down. He had this paperwork out and he kept wanting me to sign this form to agree to it. And I said, no, I don't know. So I didn't know anything about it. I said, I mentioned it to Mark. Mark goes, well, do you have a public adjuster? I go, what's a public adjuster? He goes, well, basically, there's someone that works on your behalf with the insurance company, but they're your agent. They work to your best interest. They read the policy, create a cost analysis of what that damage occurred at union scale wage to repair it, and then they get 10%. Depends on the floating scale. In the industrial world, it's negotiable, but usually in housing, it's 10%. We paid this guy 8%, but he got us $370,000 instead of $50,000. So insurance pays. Subsequently, 2 years later, it was a very cold year. The whole building was sprinkled with a sprinkler system. Again, you have the full policy in place. Insurance policies, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 a year. At one end of the sprinkler system was near an outside wall, and it wasn't heated. It was heated, but obviously not warm enough. The sprinkler system froze and broke. A sprinkler system has a 4-inch line coming into your building of water. It triggers that head. That head went off. Basically, it blew off that end of the pipe. It's a 2-inch pipe. So overnight, the water's running, and no one knew it was on. Lieutenant comes in the next day, there's water running into the door. He opens the overhead door, and there's a big lake of water comes running out. Again, called up the public adjuster. He went out there. Insurance company, once they get, the public adjuster involved, they go, uh-oh. But again, they're hired for you, it's your benefit. The policy covers what it should be cost to repair it, a normal course of events. If you hired it out to a union contract to do the work, to get done what should have been done, the damage is caused from that event. That's what your policy is for. I didn't tell him the public adjuster was involved, first of all. I just want to play with him, see what he'd come up with. He goes, well, Pat, we evaluate it. Yeah, all you really got is a bunch of water in here. You could just kind of just send a company in and suck the water up, and the rest will just kind of flow out the building and be okay. It didn't do any structural damage. I said, what about the carpet? What about the upstairs office space? Well, that's not even occupied anyway. Well, here's $72,000. Can you sign this? No, I'll get back to you. So I got the public adjuster involved. They went back and forth. This time it took them like 2 or 3 months. I didn't even want to know what the number was till the end. And he came to me, and his name is Ron. He goes, I don't know if you want to take it or not, but I think I got him at 620. So I guess that's my example for a public adjuster. It's nothing like a public adjuster. They work for your benefit. Again, that's a retail cost to repair. The insurance company knows what it costs at retail, and they know what it costs at wholesale to get done. But under the policy guidelines, they got to pay you a negotiated fee for substantially what it costs to get it done if you were just to go hire somebody to get it done and do the work. We didn't do that, obviously. We just do it internally because the people I know got the work done. We just gutted the upstairs, replaced the carpet. They vacuumed all the water out of the building, replaced the sprinkler system, recharged that end of the building. Had to pay some rent to the, it was part of the policy too. There's another, what's called loss of rents. It disturbed some of the business of the tenant in the business, so he got paid too. I don't know how, that was a different issue. I didn't get involved in that, but again, the same public adjuster helped him through that issue. He gets paid for business interruption insurance for his business being wet or slows down his production for the day or the week of the month it took to get the building back online. A question?
Now, in that particular case, were you responsible for all repairs and everything like that?
In that building, no. But we, as a building owner, you have to insure it. The tenant pays for the insurance, but you have the insurance. You can only insure something you own. The tenant can't have insurance on a building because they don't own it. You own it. You're leasing it to them. So you'll get a fire extended peril policy. It's in your name, not in your name. I never own anything in my name, but I own entity names. You have it insured, the asset, the title holder to the asset is insured. And the additional insured is your mortgage holder and the other party you want to put on there. So it's your job to have the insurance. When the insurance issue comes up, you got to deal with it. But there's more enough money in it, like I just mentioned, insurance policy, if the right people to help you out to deal with the problem. So really, casualty is a good thing. People think, oh, wow, what a headache, what a problem. Again, you don't have the right people on your team. You don't deal with it. You just let them, turn them loose, go do their job. But I'm just saying, an adjuster is worth their weight in gold. In the commercial realm, it's incredible. Yes, a question?
So after your public adjuster's done, the insurance company writes you a check, and then you're able to go and do the repairs at your own cost, pocket the difference?
Yes, insurance proceeds are tax exempt. There's no taxable event. So it's not earning income. It's just like, it's free money, basically. But again, if I didn't have a professional to help me through it, I would have settled on the first case for 50 and the second one for 70. Because the insurance company, they don't care. They're to minimize the claim process. Yeah, they're happy to take your premiums. If you miss a premium, boy, they get a cancellation notice out to you. But the other side of the coin is if they got to pay on a claim, they're not going to pay it. They're going to drag their feet and kick and scream. And as I said, it's really an untapped industry, in my opinion. So many people don't use public adjusters. Most people, I don't think majority of people know about them.
Can you use them for residential?
Yes, they do. They do an incredible job in same situation, residential. They deal with all kinds of issues on any kind of loss, a storm loss. Mark mentioned a vandalism, a fire. They have ALF too. I'm not sure of the term, but it's basically you had a loss in your house, you can't live in it. There's the housing expense for you to live somewhere else while your house is being renovated. That's in your policy. There's all kind. I'm not a professional in it, but as I said, the adjuster that's here, he knows the game backwards and forwards. Is an incredible person to be on your team. Again, you got to have a good attorney, a good public adjuster, a good appraiser, a good banker. I don't really stick to one bank. I like to deal with a lot of different banks because I don't want to be pigeonholed just to deal with that bank. There's all different bank relationships I have, different banks, and because they all serve a purpose. You don't want to exclude them because one day they're going to bring you a property or a lead. You know, just like I mentioned, this one banker that heard about this family just wants to sell their asset. We just want to split it up, take the money, and go. We don't want the rental income. Yeah, my dad wanted it, but we don't want it. Okay, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. So we're going to take a one lunch break at 12. I'm going to start talking a little bit about right now the taxable value and how to fight your assessments to win. Once you acquire a building and you actually close on it with yourself or your partner or your credit line or a mortgage or a hard money lender or however you acquire the property. I mentioned earlier about the tax ramifications on industrial and commercial buildings as the assessor really likes to assess things high because they don't really get contested. Even if you contest it every year, you got to fight it. But there's people in the business that you hire as a consultant, which you've done numerous times and with very much success over the years, is they fight the tax assessment for you. They fight fire with fire, basically. Just like a public adjuster fights for you on behalf of an insurance claim, these guys fight the tax assessor on the assessment of a property. And it could be a difference between $50,000 or $100,000 of tax. Again, some of the buildings you fight, whether you pay the tax or not, because it's going to the tenant anyway, the tenant's paying the tax, but other buildings you're either holding a building for a certain purpose, or if it's some office component, sometimes office buildings you don't charge a tax to the tenant. It's a gross lease. A lot of office buildings are gross, modified gross, where the tenant pays rent plus a 10% overage, basically, for space they don't occupy. It tries to go toward the overhead cost of the hallways and maintenance. And they might pay utilities or gas and electric in their phone, or a number of that number. If you don't have separately metered office building space, you charge a premium on the rent. Say the rent's $10 a foot, you might charge $1 a foot for electricity, $1 a foot for gas. Sometimes $1.50. It's all negotiable. But going back to how to deal with a tax assessment, the assessor comes in, they'll spike it all the way up because they know most people don't fight it. The residential realm's different. All the residential people beat a path down there. I'm not paying a tax increase on my house. I didn't do any renovation, and Proposal A really saved the day. For the residential people, everyone that lives in a house. But the commercial realm has no benefit like that. The tax game is wide open. It's like the wide open West. Whatever the assessor wants to charge, he can charge and get away with it. So you hire these tax assessment expert. Basically, they analyze the income stream, what buildings are selling for in the area or in the city, and whatever they save you, again, it's negotiable, but usually it's 30% of what they save you they get. So if they save you 30 grand, you pay them 10. So what? You save 20 grand in taxes. It's that huge some days on different properties. Yeah, question?
Is that their actual title like, or what?
Tax assessor?
Well, most management companies, professional office management companies, have a division. Colliers does, Signature does, Grubb Ellis does, and there's a bean counter. Basically, the guy's background is a CPA. He might have worked for the city. Most assessors in the cities, from my experience, even though the state law says they can't charge you or assess your property more than it's worth, they don't care. Their job is to bring more money to that city, no matter what it takes. So they'll spike it way high and figure, okay, let's see, how many people are going to fight my assessment? Not many. Or they'll come in with a weak fight. Some landlord might send his property manager in, a property management company, and they'll come in and they'll say, okay, well, here's my rental income. Here's what the market is in the neighborhood, and they'll submit this data to the property assessment division. They'll say, well, that's not enough data. This is not good enough. We declined to lower your assessment. And the manager says, oh, I gave up. I tried, Joe. I went down there. It didn't work. Again, you can't fight fire with fire if you don't have the right tools. They have a whole Excel spreadsheet that they create. And they know how the assessor's looking at it, and they just fight the same exact, image. That's how they get the results. And that's another person well worth their time, well worth their expense. They don't work for any money up front. They're success-based. You go in, you bring your data in. Kind of like a public adjuster. They don't get paid. You don't pay them a retainer. You sign their contract. They go to work for you. They save you money. They get paid based on that.
Where do you find them again?
True. Mostly all the professional property managers. Again, that's another thing that really, I stressed to you. I sent a magazine around. It's a free magazine you subscribe to. I really recommend you do it. It talks about all the commercial stuff going on in this area, all the deals that are happening, the buildings are being sold. I think it's commercial. Pardon me? A title? No, the title for the people that fight the tax
Assessment expert.
basically a tax assessment or appeal department. It's under the property management division, again, of each major property management company has one. Or they have an affiliate they'll send out, an outside contractor that does it. I know Colliers is a national firm. They have them.
And can somebody read off that magazine or?
Sure, it's here somewhere. I know I passed it.
It's called Buy Lease Magazine, but they said if the subscription was $18 a year.
No,
You're saying it's free?
it's free.
They'll send it to you?
Yes.
Okay.
That's just a newsstand price.
I got the number from them on the back. It's 1-800-633-0790.
1-800-633-0790. Okay.
What's a 10 cap? What is cap?
A 10 cap is a percentage of return on what your basically your income's coming in, what your expenses are, and what you're getting back at the end of the day. I guess that's a broad general stroke of how to describe it.
Excluding your debt service.
Right, but I don't really look at things like that because, again, that's, my opinion, those are institutional buyers or 1031 buyers that have a big problem to solve. They have I don't know, 1,000 acres of land, or they had, a 200-unit apartment complex. They've owned it for years, they've appreciated it for years, 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 times. They got a huge gain. Now they're saying, "Whoa, I got to take this $3 million gain, and I got to put it somewhere. All they could buy is a 1031 property. It's going to buy it immediately, trade right into it, and they get a 10 cap, a 10% return. They go, "Well, I'm safe."
So a 10 cap is a 10% return?
Basically, yeah, that's a good way to put it. 10%.
Minus expenses?
Yes. I mean, Bob could be more thorough than that, but that's basically an overview of how you view a return. I mean, it's really, you can get into a lot of calculations and, as I said, I guess really never got into that realm of investing because to me that's municipal money or pension fund money. That's what they buy. That's what they focus on buying. They'll buy 15 Starbucks. They'll buy a package of 30 Wendy's restaurants all over the country. And they just sit. They wait 7 years, and then they roll it over into another property. They'll take all the gain on that 7 years because those Wendy's go up, the rents go up. They sell more hamburgers or more bruschetta sandwiches now. So the rents go up, the demographics go up, the cost to build a new Wendy's goes up, so that property raises in value. Every 7 years, typically, these big buyers, they turn it. They'll sell it. Maybe they have 20 Wendy's. They'll sell it to make a $12 million profit. They'll take that $12 million profit and they'll put that $12 million plus the money they had they first started with, maybe $5 or $6 million, and move it into another group of 1031 properties. Maybe 100, standalone Starbucks stores. Go ahead, question?
So obviously it's best if you have a vacancy, you increase the value if you bring in a higher credit tenant.
Absolutely. That's always the game.
How do you find the highest credit tenants that are out there?
You don't. Again, that's why you get the best brokers. I'm a broker, but I don't know the retail world. I wouldn't want to try it. It's like a surgeon. You don't. There's a lot of different surgeons out there, but if you need a heart surgeon, you're not going to hire a podiatrist. You hire a person that deals with retail. And they work hard for the money, and I don't never discount their money, what they're going to get paid. But they run they go to all these national events with all their national retail chains. They have one in Las Vegas, they have one down in Florida. It's incredible. I mean, probably 300,000-400,000 people go. And they fill up all the different casinos, and they have these big, set up elaborate food displays. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a minute when they're out there. And it's all about money. I guess the talk on the next step is here. I really talked a little bit about already is income upside. Your value as a real estate or developer or investor, I always think, I want to teach you always to think both ways. Don't ever think that I'm just going to be an investor. Keep your horizons open. You could be an investor too or a developer. Because a lot of people, the upside of a property, again, in the commercial realm is as things change over time, even in a 5-year period or 10-year period, which is not long, as you can see, time flies like that in the life we're living here. A commercial corridor you might own a property on might be a highest and best use today, might be a
I hope you really enjoyed the videos. There's a lot more coming you're going to really enjoy.
We're going to be doing them ongoingly. You want to watch from the YouTube channel. And we're glad you were with us today.